Welcome to Beyond the Qubit. I'm your host, Frank Dekker. Today we interview Matthias Kaiser, CEO of Pex Machina. What's fascinating about Pex Machina is they develop quantum simulation for precision medicine for oncology. And what I really like about Matthias is that Matthias has sales experience and he really wants to solve customers' problems. So he is not only focusing on finding a solution for quantum computers. No, he really wants to solve problems with quantum simulation. And maybe quantum simulation is not as technical as a quantum computer. I think it's really an interesting area to dive into. One of the things that we lack with quantum computing is real world applications. And what I would love to learn today and from the interview is how does Matthias see the opportunity for applications in precision medicine. Before we start with the show, I have an important disclaimer. I do not represent any company here, and I do it under my own name. Let's get started. Thank you for joining the podcast. I'm glad you're here. Can you start with sharing your journey? What brought you from physics and to a quantum background into precision oncology?
Okay, yeah, Frank, nice to meet you. Nice to be here. I'm very happy to participate today in the podcast. Yeah, short introduction about myself. So I'm a physicist by training. Like basically, I guess everybody in quantum, at least, it's whether a computational chemist or it is a physicist in most cases. So I'm one of them. I actually started to study that physics in Frankfurt, high energy physics. But I was reading actually some books. It was namely the books of Anton Zeilinger. His two books. I'm not sure now what the English names of the books are, so I will not try. But I was reading them. But we didn't have like any courses in Frankfurt at the time. We had one like tiny course. So I decided to go for internship actually with Anton Zeilinger at the time. So I went to Vienna in my summer holidays and was working there on a quantum eraser experiment at the time. Was super interesting. I think scientifically it was not that great or that big, but it was very cool because we were actually doing optical devices. We were implementing a quantum eraser experiment, which was pretty cool. So I thought I do an Erasmus semester. And this is also what I did. And I went to Latvia and I really liked it there. I get good contacts, met actually my now wife over there. And she came also back to Austria. She had booked it already before we knew that we would come together, her Erasmus in Austria. So, and after my studies, I kind of didn't want to stay in academia. I did a very, very theoretical thing for my master's thesis, which is probably the reason it was. It was not mine. Let's say like this, and I realized this and didn't want to stay in academia. So I was thinking to do my PhD, but then I decided no, I want actually to go into the industry and see what's happening there. So yes, actually I moved to Latvia at the time through a professor I knew there. I got an offer of a company to work for them. And the funny thing was when I came there to the CEO of the company, we had the discussion. He offered me the job and he said, like, I have two jobs openings for you. One is as an engineer, a physicist, and this would be your salary. And I have another position, which is more like a sales business development position, and this would be your salary. Actually, let's say like this to continue the historic genesis of everything. Basically, in Latvia, I worked then for different companies in deep tech, mostly sales business development, always big projects, often multi-million projects we were doing. First job was actually I told already, in a nuclear equipment company, working also with the United Nations, for example, and this was my account. So we did a lot of business with big customers. And this was very interesting because you learned a lot that sometimes what companies want or organizations want is not what the people want to work in these organizations. There's often a difference, which is also important for sales, right? Because not always what is good for the company you're talking with is good for the person you're talking with in the company, and the other way around. Now, basically learned that the whole quantum community is operating like this, right? Really badly want to apply quantum computer on some kind of problem. And I already know that this is not working. This is not how things are usually working. And this was the idea to basically found a company that does one thing, very niche, but very good, and develops a solution for that to the end, right? Not just stop when it goes out of the technology. Because out of my experience, and I think many people who have run successful startups, you can read all the biographies. Usually, the hard stuff is not like applying a technology. It's everything around. It's like business model. It's how you connect it to existing workflows. What other software is already there that you might have to connect to, or like where you get information from or have to give information to. Do you overlap with some of that, right? Do you want to overlap with that, or better not? There's a lot of questions that you have to solve that are not trivial at all. I mean, quantum computing is not trivial. That is very clear from a technological perspective, but finding a good business model is also not trivial. And I think sometimes in the industry that part is taken too lightly.
I want to solve problems.
Yes. We don't want to push, like the idea behind Pex Machina is that we don't want to push a technology. We know that the problem that we are solving is a problem that can be solved with quantum computing. We know that for sure. We know also that it can be solved good with quantum computer, better than the state of the art. But it is not the aim to push it on the market, to push quantum computing. It's not the aim. It's build a solution that uses quantum computing. Does the customer really have to care about? I don't think so.
What I want to have sharp is, can you explain your steps and why you got interested in precision oncology? Can you maybe explain how you became the CEO of Pex Machina?
Yes, I can do that. Basically, I had the idea to basically build a company that is actually forming a solution. And during my time at Kipu, I met one of my co-founders, which is Valentin.
And maybe for the audience that doesn't know Kipu, what does it stand for?
Oh, Kipu Quantum is a startup developing a quantum algorithm for NISQ machines. So this is basically what Kipu Quantum is doing. Mainly active in optimization, quantum machine learning, a bit in quantum chemistry, but currently focuses more on quantum machine learning and quantum optimization. Yes.
And how do they compare with other programming languages like Qiskit or Classic? So my
It's not a
previous
programming
interview was
language.
with
It's a company that develops algorithms, usually based on one of the languages, right? It's usually like a Qiskit based solution. Could be also something else, but it's basically algorithms. It's how they call it is hardware software co-design. So that means basically that they develop algorithms which are developed having the hardware in mind. So this was also important. We looked from it from an impact perspective, but we looked also from technological capability perspective on the field.
Can you describe Pex Machina in simple terms to somebody who is not familiar with oncology?
Yes. So what we basically do is we help develop compounds for oncology drugs, right? For medicine that helps with that beats cancer. Basically, this is what we're doing. We're doing this by applying quantum simulations. Basically, so there's a lot of fields where let's put it differently. There are companies who are already doing this, like Schrödinger, for example, but they're using algorithms that in some cases are not doing too well. This is just the problem of the industry. And there's a lot of cases where it didn't went very, very, very well. There's, for example, a case of AbbVie that basically lost 6 billion with a B in front, US dollars, by buying a company and wanted to commercialize a specific cancer drug, and they basically failed in clinical trials. A lot of that could have been avoided if they would have done simulations before. But it's not standard in the industry. There's many reasons why this is not standard in the industry.
Can you explain it in basic terms for the audience? And
Okay.
where
There
does
are many
quantum, where does mean?
Yes. Okay. There are many ways how you can explain quantum simulations. Also, many things, right? I mean, it depends on what you call quantum simulations. I mean, there's quantum Monte Carlo. You can do linear equation systems you can solve. So you can do like finite element simulations directly with quantum computing. You could all call that quantum simulation. But what I mean is actually the simulation of quantum systems. That doesn't necessarily be done with quantum computers. It can be done with quantum computers, but it doesn't have to be necessarily be done. The benefit there is that if you're using a quantum computer, the big benefit is there that you're simulating one quantum system with another quantum system, which
You
is
solve
great.
quantum mechanical problems with quantum mechanica, which is
Makes a lot of. I mean, like Feynman. I mean, Feynman basically said that this is the reason why quantum computers should be built in the first place, right? So this is, I think, the biggest application. If it's, and I think it's an impactful application, right? That's why many companies work on this, right? It's material science, it's chemistry, it's pharma. There's a lot of like big technologies that will in the future rely on that are meaningful for our society. So I think it's a good place to start. I know that there are companies who have other theses where the first quantum advantage will be. However, they might be right from a purely technical perspective. I don't think that they're right from a commercial perspective.
Why is that?
Because if you, for example, do optimization, most optimization problems are quite good solved, right? Like for example, when I started in the quantum industry, there was this story everybody was telling was about these logistics problems, right? Solving logistics optimization problems with quantum computers. So when I entered, the first thing I usually do that's the way how I work is there was a story around, so okay, let's figure it out. So I wrote actually many logistics people on LinkedIn, not wanting to sell them something, but basically like, hey, like we have this use case. Can you explain me, like, is it a problem for you? Do you have this problem? Is it solved? What would be cool? What are things that you can't solve currently? And it basically turns out that they're all like less than impressed. They were all like, yeah, I mean, yeah, okay, would be nice to do like a little bit more optimization. Why you should even do it? Yes, academic interest, it's good. It's very good. I don't want to say, but it belongs in the university, right? If you want to do a research project, that's university. If you work in a company, you build a product, not a research project. So when you're a company, what you have to do is to talk with the customer. And this should be your only goal, is talk with the customer, figure out what the customer wants, and then figure out if you can actually deliver that. Because if not, you don't have to sell to every customer. Actually, you should not. You should figure out the customers where what you are building has the biggest impact and where you can actually help most, and which is relevant to your technology that you try to develop. If you're trying to develop a technology, right? There are companies who just go from the problem side, which I think we are also more belonging to, like really try to solve a problem. I don't want to push quantum.
Matthias, can you explain the mission of Pex Machina?
Yes. The mission in the end is to support companies in developing better cancer treatments. That's the mission. No quantum inside, nothing. That's the mission of what we're doing, is basically supporting companies in developing better cancer treatments.
Can you explain what bottlenecks does quantum simulation and oncology, precision medicine solve?
What is precision medicine in general?
Yes, please.
Right? Yeah, this is maybe the first place where we have to start. What is precision medicine? So traditional medicine is what I explained before, right? You have a cold, and there is a medication, or you have a headache, and there is basically everybody in the world takes ibuprofen, a paracetamol, or aspirin, however they're called, wherever you are. But this is basically the three medication that you have to choose from if you have a headache, right? So, and that works for basically everybody. And this was how pharmaceutical industry was operating until recently, right? It was basically you make one compound that basically helps everybody. Yes, there might be some outliers where maybe paracetamol is not so good, or which get like stomach problems from aspirin. Right? So there's always like some outliers, but in general, one of the three will always work with somebody. This is traditional medicine. When you now go to precision medicine, it's you go away. You basically look at the patient and you say like, okay, to which patient group they belong. So you basically divide all humans in different subgroups. These subgroups are usually defined by some kind of genetic makeup, right? Like when you go with the aspirin case, you could say there's probably some reason why some people get stomach problems when they take aspirin. So people figure out why that is, and then they say like, okay, this group is probably not the best case. If they take aspirin, they should take some of the others. This is like easiest case. But now you try basically to find medications that help these subgroups best. Not all, but actually just these subgroups. So it's an intermediate step towards a personalized medicine where you then look at the single human. The problem is if you go from traditional one size fits all to like I subdivide in groups and to I look at the individual, it gets more complex, right? It's like you're getting from like I assume everybody's kind of the same. I have my models for everybody, so I produce a drug for everybody, and for most people it will work, right? You go to, okay, I have this 20 different subgroups of people that I have to now each develop a treatment for, which might be quite different from subgroup to subgroup. Maybe from some subgroups it will be kind of the same or similar. Maybe for others it will be completely different. I have to figure this out. So you're making actually not for the whole population medicine, you're making for smaller subgroups, which means more
I'm with
medicine.
you.
You have to understand people better, like, their makeup better and stuff like that.
And
Yeah,
so that's
sorry.
so that's the basic of precision medicine.
Yeah.
And then what bottlenecks does quantum simulation solve?
It's basically reducing the time that it requires, the time and risk that it requires to develop a new drug.
Can you walk us through the barriers of entry for competition?
Barriers of entry is quite a big big discussion. I think there's a lot also to our USP, which I will go not into,
Yeah.
but in general, what I have to say is it's technology, it's access, and it's knowledge. This is basically with one. If you have only one of the three, there is no way that you will enter a market. If you have two of the three, there is a possibility that you can enter the market. If you have all of the three, there's basically it's almost guaranteed that you will at least enter the market with the product. If you achieve success is another story, but you will at least enter the market with it, right? And this is basically what I have to say. So in the end, the benefit that they have is that by simulating more precisely what these compounds can do or can't do, they can reduce the amount of bad compounds that would maybe push through further to the drug discovery process. There's other things that we also do that brings value, like for example, then optimizing, there's then the lead optimization. So you go away from decided for rough chemical, and then you try to basically figure out how that could look actually more in detail. This is basically where we help reducing, making it more efficient, requiring less experimentation because experimentation is expensive, and giving information about these systems, right? It's a lot of, especially if you go to precision and into personalized medicine, there's a lot of fine tuning that you have to do. It's not that you can just give somebody paracetamol and all is good. It's basically you have to fine tuning of your compounds, and their simulations will become much more. I mean, there's experimental systems, highly automated systems that are definitely doing a very, very good job on the experimentation side, but there's definitely also a big opportunity still for optimization, probably even more because drugs are getting more complex, way more complex than you could even imagine. I mean, Before, basically, what you did is you took something out of some kind of organism, plant, bacteria, mushroom, like right, and you treated something with it. We're getting away from that in the pharmaceutical industry. So also tools have to follow this trend or make this trend even possible. And this is what we are doing.
Can you walk us through the business momentum and especially customer adoption? Do you have proof that there is demand for the solution?
There's big interest in that because there's big interest of something of that, right? I mean, it's always like what I told you is very coarse, a coarse idea of all of this, and of course, customers are not necessarily interested in this coarse idea, but in very specific parts of that. And these parts some we have identified. There's probably more that we have not yet identified, but there's some parts of this which we have identified with customers where there's real interest in what we're doing. And not just real interest, right? Interest is nice, but also commercial value and also the readiness to invest. So there we have parts we have already identified.
Okay. When would your
I
conviction?
will leave it at that. I think there will be probably some news whenever we can talk about them, but yes, I will leave it at this moment.
And Matthias, when would your conviction on the business momentum and on Pex Machina, when would it increase? What needs to happen that you say, well, my conviction has increased?
You mean from the customer side, yeah?
Yeah, from your side or
from our side, there's no increase in conviction possible. I mean, we all three left our well-paid jobs to do this. From our side, I think we're already at full conviction here. From customer side, I think it's important to have proof, right? So we actually did very early on our already a first benchmark of what we're doing with actually relevant compounds for them. Which is super important. I mean, it's a first benchmark. It doesn't show that we can solve an actual problem. It shows that we can solve a sub-problem of a problem. But this is good, right? Because people need proof. And this is where you get basically conviction of the market, is proof. It's not like nice stories about what you all can do. It's basically showing them that there's actually real value in what we're doing. And I think we're doing quite good at this point, showing actually customers value in what we're doing and connecting it also with real needs and requirements that they're having. Because this is important, right? Like, even if you solve a problem, if you solve the wrong problem, nobody cares.
Matthias, can you walk us through the management team? And can you walk me through the skills and the knowledge that your other team members bring? And maybe can we start with Sanjoy Ray?
Sanjoy, yes. Sanjoy, actually, he is our problem sometimes. So he comes basically from the applicational problem space that we're trying to solve, right? So he knows oncology space. He knows what to apply for. He has actually a background in that field many years. So he's studied in I think biophysics was his major there. So he has done PhD he made also there, and then he moved to the US and was leading different technological projects in different laboratories. He was working actually part of his postdoc was working on data that is used now for AlphaFold. He's not the only one who contributed to that, but he contributed. Some of the data is also part of the AlphaFold. And then he moved first to Merck. For the European listeners, I'm not talking about Merck. I'm talking about MSD, which is the American part of Merck, or the split off that they had for the US market. And there he was for 17 years in innovation working. Different positions he had, but his main task was to bring innovation to Merck and new technologies. And he did that for quite a long while, introducing very impactful technology to Merck in record time. So he has a good understanding of how also the innovation cycles are working and what is necessary to introduce innovation, right? Because it's one thing, even if we have now a product that solves the need of the customer, and that does things better in a place that it's actually required to do these things better, that doesn't mean yet that we're selling to a big corporation, because then you have all of the different questions of like how you get it in there, how you get from one person sitting there using your software to the whole organization using your software. And this is a completely different story. And there, Sanjoy has a lot of experience in basically bringing a solution from that like initial trial phase or like proof of concept phase into basically a system that is used over the whole organization. And then he basically joined, and during COVID, I think it was, he joined Johnson and Johnson, a leading technology in oncology and immunology, where immunology is autoimmunity in this case. So it's not vaccines, but it's autoimmunity. And yeah, so he has also a lot of experience in that. Has also sit there on the panel that decided which drugs go and proceed in clinical trials. So he has a lot of experience in the process as a whole, right? Like from the beginning, early stage drug discovery until it actually goes into the clinical trials and then is approved. So he has a lot of like covering that from a not just strategic field, but also from a scientific perspective. So
Okay, now
it's
that's
very,
very
very
helpful.
helpful to talk with him.
Okay, what is the path for a quantum simulation in your platform to a real patient outcome?
You can do better quantum simulations. You can do faster iterations in early stage drug discovery, which means that you can, first of all, have better drugs. So you already sort out all of the bad candidates very early on. That means the potential, the likelihood of a drug succeeding will be much bigger. But second of all, because you make it more efficiently, you make also the process cheaper, allowing companies to do also more drug development. That means in the end, you will get better drugs and you will get more of them. So this is basically the general idea, which helps the patient in the end immediately, right? Because there's a lot of unmet needs. There's a lot of side effects that would be avoidable if the drug would be more customized towards the needs of the specific patient. This is the first iteration, right? We're now like getting better drug for patients. However, what it also allows is actually to move from traditional drugs or from traditional medicine to precision medicine and then to personal medicine. So basically allowing that transition of the industry, because industry wants actually to do the transition. They're already working really hard on precision medicine, especially on the diagnosis side. There's a lot of things happening. On the treatment side, it's so far it was tough for them because they're missing the tools. And then basically moving from precision medicine to personalized medicine, this would be from a treatment perspective, basically it's not possible at this time. There are certain illnesses where this is already happening, but it's on a wider scale. I don't think this is currently possible without changing something in the tool set. And we are that change in that tool set.
I don't fully understand that. So could you elaborate on that?
You mean what does this change in the tool set mean?
Yeah, what is the change in the tool set that's required to make precision medicine successful? So without that, it would not be possible.
So if you have so imagine you move from traditional medicine directly to personalized medicine. So that means you have to do the process of drug discovery that you do now that costs usually single to double digit billions, right? From the first idea to actually the drug in the pharmacy that costs billions. It's very expensive. Imagine you would have to do this for each single person. Would not like just the math is not working out here, right? The beauty of quantum simulation is that it's also a data generator, right? It actually generates data. It solves some of the problems of, especially in medicine, especially in early stage drug discovery, because if you imagine you're coming from a place where you have, so when you call, like when you look at small molecules, for example, as a treatment, you have a gigantic research space. I mean, your search space, something like 10 to the 60 or something like this is your search space, right? It's like absolute, like you will never be able to do experimentation that would cover that search space. So you will have to use definitely AI machine learning. I don't say that we will not also do that. There will be parts of what we're doing, which we're already doing, which is machine learning AI based. But there's also a missing component that is data creation. Because how medicine is currently working is you have a compound that comes from somewhere, right? It's some kind of natural compound. And then there's, for example, a whole family of compounds that are based on nicotine, where they basically make changes to nicotine and then they treat a whole lot of different kind of illnesses from that compound. So if you want to cover some space of this where you not have been yet, how you do that? Right? So you have to basically simulate something. This is the only way how you can cover some of that search space to even understand if there is something of any interest to you. I mean, you will probably in the beginning not do that, but you will also stay closer to the already known space, but you can wander further out from this. Like Sanjo always tells it that you cannot only search your keys under the lamppost, but also check the surrounding a little bit, like move from the lamppost basically to a small enter. Not sure if this is the right English word.
Yeah, no, this is very clear. Why should investors care and why should they follow you?
I mean, I think we're first of all quite unique in the market. This is important. We're actually trying to build a solution of which there are not so many companies coming from quantum are doing currently. We're very focused, razor sharp focus. I mean, it's like we have not even talked about the kind of focus we have here because I can't in this round, but with investors, I'm happy to share also more about the actual focus that we're having that is even much more than what discussed here. We are also fast. We're fast in execution. We have access, which gives us speed, but which also gives us knowledge. We have already a good understanding of the pharmaceutical industry and how it works and where the product is relevant or not. And we have an amazing technology, I think, also behind. Like the technology, I was very surprised how fast we could get value out of what we're doing. It was actually quite surprising. But it comes not because it's like easy. It just is because we have the right technology and the right knowledge. So this is the business model. I can also promise that we have much cooler stuff that I could share here. Actually in the making, which includes actually very big plans, moving us out of even the I mean, probably quantum will be very relevant for us, but it will be not the core of our business in a sense. It will not it will enable what we're doing, but the real value will be actually in that what we enable with it. And I think this is the real beauty out of this, because there are things that the technology we're having can enable to do the first time ever, and which are really, really impactful for the industry, which have immense value that is probably we don't even understand yet. I mean, we have a good understanding of what the value would be right now to that, but I think the future value is even by magnitudes bigger. So I think we're working on an exciting technology in an exciting market with real customers, a real customer need, and also the financial capabilities of financing what we're doing on the customer side, right? They want and they can pay for what we're having. So I think this is the most, not all startups can tell that from themselves, that we know already that well in that short time, basically what we have to build. We just have to execute at this moment. And for this, we need investment. We need money to basically execute what we already know will work.